What's going on, Military Cashflow family? Hey, it's going to be just me today. Mike's got a prior engagement, but nevertheless, we have a great guest for you today. It's the second time coming on, Mr. Royal Banks. I think you guys remember him from, I want to say episode 40 or 50 or something like that, somewhere in that range. Definitely go look it up. Before he was talking about mobile homes, right? And now we're talking about a different type of way to create cash flow. And we're talking about paternity tests. And I know you're thinking like paternity test, man, what does that have to do with, cash flow? But Royal has stumbled upon a new way to create cash flow for himself and his family. And it's through creating paternity tests, right? Like offering paternity tests for individuals that need it. And I just thought this episode was so phenomenal, man, because one, it's something that I've never talked about before, even ever thought about before, right? And then two, he has a great way that he systemizes the business, and we talk all about it in this episode, man. So I'm not going to go too deep into it. I mean, he explains it way better than I could in this little 1-minute intro. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the episode. What's going on, family? Today we got Royal Banks, second time coming on the podcast, but this time we're talking about something completely different. I'm really excited about this one because I remember when you first told me about it. I don't know, had to be like months ago. We had a conversation and just kind of dove in, and I was like, man, what is this stuff? So first off, can you please give us a brief, who you are, what you're doing, and where you're from, just a quick brief description, and then we'll kind of dig into the details from there.
Got you. Well, Dan, first off, thank you for having me on again. I appreciate that. So my name is Royal Banks. I'm an active Army officer, currently based in Fort Bliss, Texas, public affairs officer. I dibble and dabble in all types of things, but here, my main focus now is Assurance DNA, my paternity testing company. So real estate, stocks, crypto, mobile homes, etc. But this is not my new focus, and this is my thing.
Excellent. So paternity test. Let's just go ahead and dive into it, man, because and I'm going to be asking some kind of selfish questions myself, because like I said, I'm extremely curious about it, and I love talking about different just businesses in general and different ways to build cash flow. And this is one that I've just not heard of at all, right? So especially how to systemize it and things. So let's start from the beginning. When we first brought you on, you were talking mobile homes. That was your thing. And you were like, hey man, this is where I'm building up to.
Yes.
And if you guys haven't listened to that episode, definitely go check that one out. The link will be down below. I don't remember what episode it was. I think it was maybe in the 40s or something like that.
Yeah, 40s or 50s, I think.
Something like that. Yeah. But yeah. So how did you transition from mobile home park investing to originally I think it was not paternity testing, but like DNA testing, not DNA, what's it? Ancestry testing. Tell us the story, man. Tell us the journey.
Yeah, for sure. And it's actually linked to mobile homes, actually. So when I was at Captain's Career Course, my wife and I, we were looking for mobile homes to buy and to invest in the area. We were in Fort Lee, Virginia. So that's like 20 miles south of Richmond. And, we had some money set aside, and the mobile homes were just too much damn money. They were asking for too much money. They were asking $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 for a mobile home. And anybody who invests in a mobile home, understands that a mobile home in a park does not have the same value as a house. No, it doesn't. It's essentially a vehicle, essentially. You buy it, you register title. It's not worth $50,000 in a park if it's not sitting on its own land. Okay. So we pivoted pretty much. And even before that, my wife was telling me for at least probably about a year and a half, even when I was at Fort Bragg, hey, why don't you start your own paternity testing company? Your mom does it. My mom owns her own paternity testing company. She's been doing it for 20 years. Yeah. She's been doing it for 20 years. And I helped her ever since I graduated college, since like 2013, 2014, et cetera. I was helping her with marketing and bringing her into the digital platforms. And I always thought, well, maybe one day I can just help my mom, and maybe one day I can buy her out or something and she can do the testing, but I'm not really interested in that. But that pivot, that these mobile homes that are going for way too much, I was like, you know what? And I just whiteboarded it. I was like, you know what? I think we can just do a paternity testing company. I was like, it doesn't cost that much to start. The startup capital is not insane. You would think that you would have to buy a laboratory and lease a building and get all these certificates. You don't have to do that to start a DNA testing company. So presented it to my wife. She was like, yeah, dude, I've been telling you for like a year and a half to do that. And we plotted it out. And, December 2020, we started it, and I've been going full force at it since then.
Excellent. So we're going to dig into the details, but before that, I want to touch a little bit more about the mobile home parks, right? Sure. Yeah. So it seems like you said you whiteboarded it. I'm assuming that was kind of your cost benefit analysis. Like, all right, what has the better outcome from it? And you realize, hey, some of these mobile homes they're a little expensive, and they're basically vehicles, so on and so forth. So at the time, I know you at least owned one mobile home park.
That's correct.
What did and I think you were I think you might have bought maybe one or two more as well. But either way, what did you do with that mobile home park that you had, or that mobile home?
The mobile home I still have it.
Okay.
I still have it. Yeah, they still pay me rent. The tenant owners still pay me rent to this day, weekly. They are phenomenal tenant owners. And part of that mobile home money is what funded some of the Assurance DNA stuff, some of the marketing for that. So I still have it. I wholesaled another one. So I only ever owned the one. I was intending to buy a whole bunch more. I think at the time of the podcast that I recorded it, I was working to try to wholesale a whole park.
Yep.
That fell through, things happen. But, I was going hard at it. I mean, traveling all over Virginia, trying to find more, and it just was not working. And I was like, you know what? Let's just pivot to something that does not need an insane amount of well, comparative to houses, mobile homes still don't need that much startup capital, but even less startup capital is a DNA testing company.
That's crazy. That's crazy how you had this on your table the entire time. You're like, hey, my mom ran it, right? And it's like, and then your wife is telling you in your ear, like, hey, you need to do this, you need to do this. And then, you finally make the switch, finally do the whiteboard and figure out you need to make the switch. So you mentioned something that I kind of want to touch on. Like you said, your mom was running it since you've been growing up. What was your capacity in that business? Like, how much did you learn? Was it talked about a lot, like in your household? Right. And then I want to kind of talk about the transition from helping your mom, like how her business was set up, and then where you kind of came into play. You mentioned you wanted to bring her into the digital age. So can you kind of touch on some of those?
Yeah. So seeing her doing it as I grew up, she started it in 2002, I believe. My little sister was younger. She got sick and my little sister got sick, and she was like, let me just start a business based on the experience that she had. Her brother had a situation with a paternity test, and she said, let me go ahead and start a business. At that time, this stuff was not even advertised. There was no course. There was nothing. And I saw her build it over time through the way she ran it is relationships with attorneys, relationship with judges. I mean, yellow pages, white pages, going on the radio. Oh my gosh, can you imagine going on the radio to talk about something? But was it talked about? Yes, it was. She would tell me about the cases that she would do. She would basically, I would go with her sometimes where she would go do a test, and I would see her just fill out some paperwork, swap somebody, and that person would pay her $400 something. And I'm like, that's crazy. I remember it was days when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, she'd come back, I made $600 today. I'm like, what?
I mean, this is in the early 2000s. So that's like,
this is like 2004.
Yeah. Like, I mean, even now that's like, all right, that's pretty decent money for a day's worth of work. Right.
Yeah.
And in 2004, I mean, that's even more.
That's pretty good. Yeah. She was making $10,000, $12,000 a month. Gross, at least in 2004, 2005, before the recession. Then the recession hit, and that changed a lot of things, obviously, for a lot of people. But I saw her do it. And so my capacity as I got older was, she was still, like I said, kind of analog a little bit, or just, having the relationship with the people. But as Google grew, as Facebook grew, as Instagram grew, I helped with social media marketing, getting her on Google, squaring that away, all that stuff. And I just wanted to help. I was like, I'll just help. I'm not really interested in trying to do any testing or nothing like that. And then after a while, I was just like, okay, you got your thing, and we would talk about it. But yeah, and it just led, I guess, all those things that I saw and experienced as being younger finally came to fruition, as last year. And I'm like, damn, wait a minute, I could do this. I can do it. I'm equipped to do it.
All right. Okay. So so let's kind of back up, right?
Yeah.
Why would anybody need a paternity test? Like, what is you like the main clientele, and like, how do you reach out to those people?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are two main reasons why someone wants a paternity test. One is for peace of mind. They just want to know it's a situation, the kid may be 2 years old, or they just want to know if that's their father that they've always wondered about. It can be anything. It's just peace of mind. They want to know. The second option is a combination of peace of mind and for legal reasons. So if they want to obtain child custody, or somebody's going through a divorce or an inheritance, with inheritance stuff, some guy just can't pop up out of nowhere and be like, yeah, I'm the guy's son, I'd like to claim his $50 million. No, legally in the courts, there needs to be a paternity test to prove that paternity. Immigration reasons. So there's legal court admissible reasons as to why they want to get a paternity test. Therefore, the industry isn't going anywhere. This stuff has to be done. So those are the reasons why. And how do they reach me? Well, how do I reach out to them? The thing is, I learned over time that people, they search for this stuff on Google. They search DNA testing, paternity testing services, etc. You can look all that stuff up. And so I set the trap in Google. I set up a Google My Business profile. I set up everything on Google Maps to where somebody's Googling. I like to try to be at the top of the page, with that good old SEO and paid search. So that's where they're looking. That's where I get them. I stopped focusing so much on Facebook and Instagram because people aren't looking for paternity testing on Facebook and Instagram. They're not looking for that. They might come across it and be like, okay, cool, but they're not looking for it there. Google is the answer.
Yeah. That's a solid. I didn't think about all the court mandated reasons. I mean, obviously I knew there was a peace of mind factor there, but like that's what I was really interested in, like the court mandated reasons. Now, another question I have, because I know that originally, let me know if I'm wrong here, but you started off with ancestry, correct? Or like,
no, I didn't. So I started off with just paternity testing in general. So So the common misconception is that genealogical DNA testing is the same as paternity testing.
Okay.
So genealogical testing is ancestry. Now that's a service or a product that I can offer. And at one point in time, I was trying to market that heavily, but the need is for the paternity testing. That's where the need is, in the niche right there.
Yeah.
So I can offer genealogical ancestry testing to the lab that I'm partnered with, but I prefer to mostly market and offer the paternity or relationship testing.
Okay. Why? I assume the reason why you're focused way more on paternity is because of exactly that, the need versus, ancestry is kind of a want, right? Like everybody.
Yeah, it's a want. It's a nice to have. And the thing is, I don't have the budget to compete against 23andMe. The founder of 23andMe, her husband is the co-founder of Google, I think Sergey Brin or something like that. Like, I don't have the money to compete against them. They're a multi-billion-dollar company. Yeah. I don't have the money to compete against Ancestry.com. They run commercials on TV. I don't have that. I mean, it's a nice thing to offer. And for example, I upsell that to clients sometimes that they get results that are in their favor. Oh, the child is yours, and they're happy. Hey, would you also like an ancestry test? Oh, maybe, yeah, sure. I'm happy, but it's a nice to have. Yeah. It's not a need.
All right. So walk us through it, man. Like walk us through, like, I'm interested in the business and the system. Like, I'm interested in learning about ancestry or not ancestry. I'm interested in learning how to build a paternity test company, right? How does that work? And I know you have a course for it too, and I love you can shout that out as well. But how do I go about doing that? What are some of these? Where do I start at here?
Yeah, to start, the biggest thing, if you're looking to start a paternity testing service, the biggest thing to do is to start by doing some market research in your city. And the easiest way to do that is to Google paternity testing service in your area. Okay. So I teach that in the course. It's called Paternity University. Only one like it in the world, by the way. I'm the first person to create something like that. It doesn't exist. I've copyrighted it too, by the way. So I had to flex real quick. But the first thing you want to do before you try to get a fancy website or do any of the others, get a logo, do your market research. What paternity testing companies are out there in your area? Okay. You have the Standard, you have the LabCorp, you have the Any Lab Test Now. Those are franchises. LabCorp is a multi-billion-dollar corporation, publicly traded on the stock market and all that stuff, right? They have endless resources, but LabCorp doesn't solely focus on paternity testing. So you'll learn the difference between the franchises and the small businesses. What you want to do in your market research, and I teach this in the course as well, is call them up, ask them their prices, ask them what services they offer, ask them if they're mobile. Are they open on weekends? Most are not. Okay. Do your market research, write all that stuff down, write everything down. What do they offer? And then you'll learn how to price them out the market. And you'll also learn how to out service them, because a lot of them aren't open on weekends. A lot of them are not mobile. They don't offer mobile paternity testing at all. You have to come in. So I've made $700 on the weekend just literally by being able to just answering my phone, because some people need paternity tests on a weekend, on a Saturday. Okay. They can't wait till Monday, or they can't go Thursday because they have to work. So market research is the first thing that you want to do. That is immensely important first. And then what you'll learn is that there might not even be no competition in your area. It might not be. And even if there are other paternity testing services, same thing. Are they open on weekends? Are they mobile? What are their prices? Do they offer non-invasive prenatal maternity testing, which is getting a paternity test while the woman's still pregnant? Keyword, non-invasive. I touch on all that stuff. There's invasive paternity testing, where it's called amniocentesis or chorionic villus sampling. And that is when they insert a needle into the woman's navel, into her belly button, to collect amniotic fluid to do a DNA test, or they insert a catheter into the woman's cervix to collect placental samples. That's the invasive. And a lot of people say, oh, it's cheap. It's only $500. Yeah, but do you want that? That doesn't seem too comfortable, and there's a small chance of miscarriage or other birth defects.
That don't sound good, man.
It doesn't, yeah. And that's part of the objections that I get sometimes. And I always counter that objection with saying, well, would you rather pay a higher price to be more safe? The non-invasive is a simple blood draw from the mother and a mouth swab from the alleged father. So people get paternity tests while they're still pregnant, by the way, Dan. That's a thing. That's a huge thing.
Yeah, I didn't even consider that. I mean, I figured it was like right after the baby is born. I didn't think like, hey, while still pregnant. Question out of curiosity, why when pregnant? Why can't they wait until after the baby's born? Like, because
Yeah. So we're gonna get into the juicy part, because I know some of the listeners want to know they think it's all Maury and stuff like that. Sometimes it is.
I'm not gonna lie, that's automatically when you told me, when you were like, yeah, I'm doing paternity tests, I was like, yeah, man, dude, you're gonna meet some crazy people. And like me and Mike were just talking, I think the other day, we were like, yeah, Royal's coming back on and he's doing paternity testing, right? And Mike was like, it's probably because he was messing with those mobile home parks. like no shade to anybody that lives in it. Like that. But
man, look, the clientele from paternity testing is, I'm not gonna name the names, but it is from the people in lower income and up to celebrities. Like I said,
I imagine
my mother has tested celebrities, like you would know these people for sure, but they have to get, but everybody needs it. Not everybody, but if you're in that situation, no matter what your income level is, you need a paternity test, So the reason why people get paternity tests while they're still pregnant is either a woman may have had multiple partners and she just wants to make sure while she's still pregnant, because she may or may not choose to make a decision from there. We're not going to get into that, but that's that situation. Or in my case, in my area, in my demographic, usually the woman is married and she cheated and she wants to make sure who the father is before she even lets her husband know.
Jeez. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's understandable. Yeah. I didn't think about that either, man. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, it's interesting. And that is, I would say of 10 calls that I get, about 5 or 6 of them are for that.
Really?
Testing. Mm-hmm.
Wow, man. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we got some of the reasons why we're starting to kind of build and understand where to start off with the market research. And I love that you started there, by the way. Not, everybody assumes that, hey, I'm about to create a business. First thing I need to do is go ahead and create an LLC, get a logo, and just, create a website. Just like you said, I love that. Hey, let's start with market research first, right? Like, does this even make sense? All right, so we got our market research down, right? And and we see that, all right, this market, either I can provide more value than my competitors, I can outprice them, or there's just not any competition here, period, right? So what's the next step from there?
So the next step from there is to go ahead and start doing your admin stuff for your business. So, you can, and these don't have to go directly in order. Okay. Some people get, as you know, analysis paralysis. Some people get hung up on, I need to pick my business name. And I'm going to spend 8 months determining a business name and all that. Look, your business name can be this. If you are in Savannah, Georgia, Savannah DNA Services, Savannah Paternity Testing Services. Make it Googleable. Make it Google. So get your domain name, okay? Buy your domain name. You can go on Squarespace, GoDaddy, wherever, Google Domains, whatever. Buy your domain name. Lock in that digital real estate first, okay? Get your website landing page. Go ahead and incorporate your business. Like, you choose to do LLC, C Corp, S Corp, whatever you want to do. Incorporate it. Speak to an attorney or an accountant on that, on how you want to do that. That's your choice, okay? Then you get your professional email set up. It's not going to be Tom at dnaservices@gmail.com or something like that. No, it's going to be Tom at SavannahDNAservices.com. Your professional email. You can get that in G Suite or Google Domains or whatnot. Link that up. Get all that stuff squared away. The next step after that, after you kind of get your entity sort of formed, business bank account, all that stuff, is to contact a DNA lab. Okay. So this is what they're called. They're called laboratories. So your role as a paternity testing company, you don't own the equipment to do a DNA test. You don't. You're kind of the middleman. Okay. Client calls you, they want to do a test. You do a test, you swab it, you send the samples off to the laboratory. The laboratory tests the samples for you. They charge you on the back end, and then you get the results and release them to the client. That's it. Okay. So you want to contact a lab and let them know, hey, I'm starting a DNA testing company in this area. I would like to, go through you all to offer DNA services, because they provide the equipment, they provide the supply. Well, I'm sorry, they provide the supplies and they do the testing. All right. And so that's how you do that. And in my course, I show you which lab I personally prefer. There's 40 AABB accredited labs in the world. American Association of Blood Banks, that's the highest accreditation for a laboratory. And you can look at those, and those are the ones that are able to offer court admissible paternity testing. So all that, is described as well. But that's what you do. And secret, Dan, you might, maybe this might be on your mind as a question, but do we pay for supplies up front? Do we pay for I wish I had a kit right next to me. I had it next to me in a second, but the DNA testing kits is just a simple swab and some paperwork and some other stuff and some envelopes, right? We don't pay for that up front. Most labs send it to you for free up front. They send you a box of tests. So you don't pay. So the startup cost that most people may be thinking of is extremely minimal. You don't pay for a test up front. You pay for it on the back end when you mail the samples in with the DNA on them, and then the lab charges you from there. So, yeah.
All right, so we'll get into the financials here in a second,
because
sure. I do have questions about like all those things about the the costs associated with, and average fees for things. But just I want to kind of touch on the systems first, sure, just to get a really clear understanding of it, and then we'll kind of circle back and go, sure, and go from there. So, all right, so we got our we've contacted the DNA labs, and we got I think it was AABA, something like that.
AABB.
Yeah, AABB.
Or CAP accredited. It's a lot of accreditations that a lab can have, but make sure they're accredited.
Got an accredited lab, right? And essentially their function is, you're getting the clientele, and then that lab is sending you the test, and then you are then taking those tests and then sending them out to any of the people that have purchased a paternity test. Am I outlining that correctly?
So yes, and it depends on what type of test they want. So when they want a court admissible test, that's where you go out and actually swab them. It's a reason why. Okay, you or a collector that you hire or you outsource the test. I can get on that as well when you talk about systems and stuff. But a court admissible paternity test has to be done by an uninterested third party. That is you or whomever you designate to do that. They can't do that themselves.
Yeah.
For a quote non-legal, or doesn't mean it's illegal, it just means it's non-court admissible, non-legal. You can send that kit to them. You can send it to them. They can do it themselves, and they send it to the lab. You never have to see them. They can be in freaking Wyoming. You can be in Florida, and you can make money that way. So that's how that happens. Yeah.
Okay. So understand the differences there between court admissible and not admissible, and then depending on what it is, you either send it out or you send a person out, right?
That's correct.
So we got that part, and then from there, I mean, we send it. Depending on which one it is, they either send it back off to the lab, I assume.
Yep. Yes.
Or you, the person, if it's court admissible, you're taking it and sending it back to, either way, it's getting back to the lab.
It's getting back to the laboratory for testing. Yes.
And then they give the results. They give the results directly. Now, if it's court admissible, do they give it to the person? I assume they just give it to the court.
The lab I use, they upload it to a portal. I download it and I give it to the client, either email or secure email. Some of the labs, they call the client directly and say, hey, your results are ready. Here's your results. We're going to mail them to you.
Okay.
And that reduces liability on you. They don't give you the results. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
Got it. All right. So, I mean, and that's from there, that's pretty much it. I mean, that's
pretty much it.
Pretty much the process. All right. So now, I love the way you laid it out. Thank you for kind of clarifying that, because I'm really just making sure I understand how that works. And I'm sure our listeners are too. So from there, let's go over some of the expenses that are associated with how to manage these things properly. I mean, we talked about the upfront costs. What are even the upfront costs if the lab is sending stuff to you, and so on and so forth?
Your initial upfront cost is your domain name. If you get your website up and running, your incorporation fees, whatever they may be in your state. Georgia, for me, I incorporated my business, it was like $100, right?
So just the LLC form. So basically, the only upfront cost is LLC formation, essentially, in those admin things.
Yeah, those LLC formation, domain name. Use your email, your professional email is $6 a month or something like that. If you get a Google Voice, that's free, or if you want to set up a separate business phone line, that's how much that may cost a month. Initial, I didn't have no money. I didn't have much money starting out. I bought a flip phone, for $100 and then paid $20 a month to T-Mobile. So
but did you get the case for your belt though? You just clap,
I wish I did. I wish I did. I really do. I wish I did.
Now you look like a real businessman. You just pop that bad boy off. But any of my friends that are any of our listeners that watch The Office, it reminds me of Dwight Schrute. So, but anyways, so got that. So basically, I mean, you're essentially, your only upfront cost is, we're talking less than $500 there, essentially. I mean,
just about.
It doesn't cost that. Yeah.
Yes. And most people think that you have to immediately lease a building or buy a building or something like that. You don't have to do that.
Why would you want to though? What would be the purpose of that though? Seems like that's just an unnecessary cost.
Yeah. And that's a lesson, and my mom is very much aware. That's a lesson that my mom learned in 2013, 14. She leased out a whole building in a strip mall, her with the name of her business. And it didn't work out because she had that lease, which was $1,600 a month, plus her mortgage, plus being a single mother of 3. And it just didn't work. And you don't need that. She is now pretty much 100% mobile. So she meets people in a secure in a central secure location, swabs them and sends the test off. And she has no overhead, so there's ways to go around that. You can, depending on your city, you can set up an account with a place called Regis, which is like a co-working, almost like a WeWork kind of place, like a co-working type of place. And now I think Regis, what they changed up during COVID is now you can rent rooms or meeting conference rooms with them for like $25-$30 an hour. So if you want to have an office of some sort, you can set up an account with them, square that away. And when somebody wants to do a test, they pay you. You go ahead and set up in the app. I've done it we did it this week. Set up an hour or so in the meeting room or the private office in that building. Person comes in, like they don't really care if that's your office or not. Do a test, it takes 15 minutes, they're out of there, and you don't have a lease. You don't tie yourself down with that.
I definitely understand that piece about, like, that's what I was trying to get at, like trying to figure out why anybody would need an actual, space. But now I understand, like, if that person maybe just didn't have a place to go to, or that person's like, in this situation where you gave the example where a person might not be sure if the child is, their partners or not, so now I get it. So it's good that you have that opportunity. I mean, that's a pretty slick way. And I didn't even think about that. It's a pretty slick way to kind of go about that. Just rent a place out for an hour and then just, use the space for what it's intended for that short period of time. And then you don't even got to worry about a lease. So, I mean, what other expenses are associated with then?
Yeah. So the lab testing fees is some of the biggest expenses. So like, as I was saying, the lab doesn't charge you up front to send, they'll send you a box of 25 kits. And if you charge $400 a piece, 25 times 400, that's what, that kit is, that box is worth of all those kits, right? But what they do is when they receive the samples, they'll say, hey, we got the samples, we're going to start testing, here is the cost. It could be, for example, they charge me $126 to do a standard paternity test. That's just alleged father-child, right? I charge $300 because I'm trying to price slightly below the market. That spread is my profit. Okay. So that expense is on the back end. Okay. Then of course you have your processing fees, whatever invoicing system you use, you have those processing fees. And of course, advertising, if you want to, continuously advertise on Google or however else, for example, I decided to advertise on the physical domain recently. So I bought bus stop bench ads.
Yeah, man. I saw the pictures.
Yeah. With me with the hoodie and the shades on, looking cool or whatever. But that is going to run me $325 a month for 5 of them starting off in the city. So advertising, I would say that your biggest expenses starting up are the lab fees and advertising, as you see fit. You're going to have to, because people don't know who you are starting off when they're searching. But, that's going to be the biggest ongoing expenses. Excellent.
I can think of so many like really corny things to put up on bus stops for paternity.
Hey, and you got to think about it. Like you said, Dan, prior to me telling you, I mean, you saw Mari or maybe paternity court or divorce court or whatever, but you hadn't really thought of like the industry as a business like that too much, right? So with that being said, a lot of the labs and some of these smaller agents, they don't advertise paternity testing in public. They don't. It's all hidden secret stuff on Google. But right now, I know for 100% fact, I'm the only person in the entire city of El Paso that is physically advertising out there. Hey, unsure if the child is yours, call this number. That doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And you can do the same. Whoever is interested in starting their own DNA testing business, wherever, you can do the same thing in your city. Hit them over the head. Nobody's seen this stuff before. There's no billboards for paternity testing. I've never seen one before. You could be the first person to do it. Not you, Dan, but I mean, if you want to start.
Hey, man, this is like serious. Like, I love this so much because it's something that's not always talked about, right? Or something that's just not talked about. Not always talked about. Real estate's talked about a lot. Different facets of real estate are always talked about. They're always talking about drop shipping, always talking about
e-commerce stuff. Yeah,
exactly. E-commerce stuff. Always talking about not always, but mobile notary is starting to become more and more of a thing right now.
Speaking of which, I didn't want to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Shout out to Andre Hatchett, man. That's
the guy, man.
I say it, and I've joked about it with him. I got to meet him in person a couple of times and all that stuff. That's like essentially like a mentor to me. I model almost my business in Paternity University after how he does his stuff. And we joke and say sometimes the rap game is kind of like the crack game. Like mobile notary and DNA testing is really actually more similar than you think. Some of the same business models can be applied.
So. I believe that. 100% believe that, man. Like, And if you guys don't know who Andre Hatchett, we've had him on the show twice, I believe. He's a great guy, man. Just doing great things. He's just an all around good guy, man. He's all over the place. But he has a mobile notary school, and then he also has a Black real estate school as well, which I've taught on at least once, I think maybe twice, but yeah, I mean, just a great program, great dude. And I love that you guys linked together and were able to kind of like, share some synergies and kind of, get some things going there. But yeah, man, like no one ever talks about the DNA, or I've never heard about paternity testing. So this is a whole new niche and a whole new business model that people can start exploring, and I just really like it. So we talked about some of the expenses, and it seems like we got our marketing expense, we got the lab expenses, and those are the two primary expenses outside of just the LLC or admin formation type fees. What else? Is there anything else?
You got there's one more, and it's only if you choose it to be an expense. It's more so of an option. So I'll get into this. So outsourcing DNA collection. Okay, that's another part of the business as well. So I have done DNA tests and made $1,600 in one day on one test while I was in the Bahamas, and the person that was testing was in Northeastern United States. Okay, how do I do that? It's called outsourcing. So believe it or not, there's a vast network of DNA collecting, the individual independent DNA collectors, or places or franchises that you can send clients to do DNA test. So for example, within the portal that I use with the lab that I'm partnered with, there's a portal where you can look up each zip code that you want to, and you can find all the DNA collectors in that area. So for example, perfect example, I had a client who was in Florida. He was a truck driver in Florida, and his mother and the other child was in Virginia, right? How did I do that test? Did I fly to Florida and test and swab him, and then I fly to Virginia and swab her? No, I just sent them to two different franchises that do DNA testing and say, hey, I have this person here, that person there. They're paying me. I'm the agency. Don't worry about them paying. They already paid me. Swab them. Here's the case number for both of them. Send them to DC. They know exactly what to do because they're a franchise and they have all their stuff lined up. They know exactly what to do. And guess how much I pay to them? Guess how much they charge me to collect DNA for one individual? Just go ahead and guess, Dan.
How much the client paid you?
No. Guess how much the DNA agency or franchise that I send them to get the client's DNA collected?
Yeah. I would imagine 50%. I mean, I'm thinking like JV, or at least maybe 30% or something. I mean,
$25 to $40.
And what is that percentage in comparison to like how much?
If I charge, that's less than 10%. If I'm charging $300 for a paternity test, that's less than 10. It's probably 8%, maybe 7%, 7.5%.
So that's like nothing.
Another perfect example. I had all my clients that I have done prenatal tests for. So when they're pregnant, the thing is, in order for you as a DNA testing agency owner to do a prenatal test, if you want to draw blood, you have to be a licensed phlebotomist. That's somebody who is licensed to draw blood. Everybody can't do that. So you have to technically either have a phlebotomist. You want to hire a phlebotomist, a W-2 phlebotomist, and pay them $40,000 a year, or do you want to send them to another collection facility that is it's a network of them pretty much. Let them know who you are. Charge the client $1,600, and I had a collection facility in El Paso charge me $25 to draw a woman's blood and do the test. And they send it off to the lab. I don't have to work. I outsource. I never even see them. I just answer the phone to the email.
So what about that cost that it would typically, I mean, so that the cost, we talked about a cost before where like if you send it to them and you have to swab them, the lab doesn't charge you until the back end, right? Are they charging you that still if you outsource it to a different agency?
Yeah. So yes. So they're charging me because it's under my account.
Yeah. All right.
Right. Yeah. Each kit has like a barcode, which they know is to my account. So it's the same price that the lab charges me.
It's just an extra
collection facility. Yeah. It's just an extra. It's like, hey, I'm in the Bahamas, right? I literally was in the Bahamas looking at the beach. Like, hey, okay, so I got a client in this state right here. She needs a prenatal paternity test. Oh, okay, cool. Well, my fee is $60, but it depends on where you go, by the way. It ranges between $25 and $60. 60 is like topish, right? Like, okay, cool. Here's her name. Here's the day she wants to come in. I let the client know, hey, go here for your collection. Da 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 da. Client is usually already paid me $1,600 or whatever the cost is of the service that I'm offering. They go get their blood drawn. The place that sends their blood or swabs them sends the kit off because they usually already have the kits on hand, so I don't have to overnight the kits to them. They already got it.
Yeah.
And then I never see them, and I make 1,600 gross, and I profit about $500 or so from that. So because the testing fees for prenatal testing is a little bit higher,
yeah, of course, yeah,
than the other one. So it's ways where you can do it and outsource it to where you never see I've never seen any of my prenatal clients in person ever, but how are they still paying me $1,600 to do a prenatal test? Because I have my script together and I know how to speak to them, and I let them have that assurance, no pun intended, on the service that they're getting.
I love it, man. I absolutely love it, man. So that's yeah, man, it's like mind blown, man. It's so it's just crazy how there's so much opportunity in the world and so many different ways to make a living, right? I mean, this is literally you if you wanted to, like, whenever you get out of the military, right, you can do this and literally do this full time, and I'm sure you could scale it up and like really make this big,
and that's another thing, Dan, thank you for saying that. There is no limit on what you can do. The labs don't say, hey, you're doing too many DNA tests, because they make money too. Everybody's happy, right? So there's no limit. I have a mentor. He makes $40,000 a month doing this. Like, there's no limit to it. And then guess what? You can add on drug testing too. A lot of DNA companies, they do drug testing too. That's another source of income. And even within DNA testing, there's 7 or 8 sources of income within DNA testing, because there's 7 or 8 different types of tests you can offer that most people like to get. All right. There's at least 3 that most people love to get, standard legal paternity testing, non-legals, and prenatals. They love to get that. That's what they, that's what clients do. So yes, this is scalable even when I'm in the military. Because I'm
gonna hide this episode for about a year or two. Let me get myself situated, and then I'll let everybody else know.
And there's money out here for everybody, man. There's money out here if you do it the right way. If you like I said, shameless plug. If you do it the Paternity University way, it's a community. All right, there's no competition with this. You do it the right way, everybody eats, for real. There's no. A lot of these other DNA companies that are out there, they're cool, but the way I teach it, they're not open on weekends and they're not mobile. So you can beat them.
I love it, man. So right now, so we went over the expenses. What are we talking about? Like, what's the average? I mean, obviously it seems like, whatever you gross, you pretty much take home at least around 50 to 50% or something like that.
Yeah.
About how many transactions do you typically see on a monthly basis based off of just your, because you're only focused on El Paso, and it's only it's only you, and I'm assuming your wife, right? And it's just you two doing it.
Well, yeah, just us two in our company. Yes, it's just us. Yeah. So I haven't spent any money on I've kept all the money inside and just recycled it on marketing. So yes, the profit margins, like I did my profit margins yesterday for the whole year. I'm sitting at around 43%, I think 43%, 48% profit margins.
Nice.
They only get dragged down lower because of the prenatal test. Like I said, I charge $1,600, but a lab charges me $1,000 or $1,200 to process the test. So that's what. But the average of you were asking how many tests generally I get a month now.
Yeah, I'm trying to give people like an expectation. Like, all right, we know about how much it costs to get things set up. Generally, if it's just me working by myself and I'm doing part-time, obviously I'm recycling finances, but I kind of want to have an idea of what I'm generally looking at if I'm looking at a decent sized market like El Paso, right?
Yes.
How many transactions am I looking at a month?
It depends. It depends on demographics. So if you hyper focus on one area, if you don't make the mistake I did in the very beginning, I was trying to advertise to 5 different cities at once, and you can't do that. If you hyper focus on your area and set it up the way I basically kind of tell you how to set it up in Paternity University, once you set up, you can have your first test normally within the first month. Like, that's what I've noticed, that my students that set up theirs and actually go hard at it, they get their test usually within the first month. They make $300 or $350 or $400 on the first one. And then from there, if you focus on that and get your Google ads straight, start meeting family law attorneys, getting in those circles and stuff like that, you can average, if you're doing minimal part-time effort, 3 a month or so. Minimal part-time effort, 3 a month. That's $900 gross, probably about $400 net after the lab charges and stuff like that. If you go hard at it, I mean, I've done, oh gosh, how many tests? Just in, what is it, November 21st? I've done, and I'm kind of sort of part-time because I'm full-time military. I've done 5 or 6 tests this month as of November 21st. But my gross is, yeah, it's not even, the month is not even over. And apparently DNA testing picks up during the holidays. It picks up during the holidays. So yeah, I mean, you're going full at it, full time, going insane. I mean, there's a perfect example. My mom, who has been full time doing this for 20 years, last week I said, "Hey mom, how's everything going?" "Yeah, I did 9 DNA tests this week." 9. She charges $400. Do the math. And she's still by herself. She doesn't outsource much. She does it all herself. She answers. So imagine if you set up a system, outsource it, have somebody else answering the calls, and you have things set up. And once you establish yourself in your city, set up in multiple cities, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a month can be possible.
Nice, man. I love it, man. Like I love the breakdown. I'm glad you kind of broke it down for us and like what the step-by-steps are. Of course, definitely need to check out Paternity University to get the full details, but just a very overview explanation is just really helps. All right. So what are some of the lessons learned that you've had so far, just kind of starting on this journey, kind of doing the transition from mobile homes going to this? What are some of the lessons learned?
Relationships matter a lot in this business. Is relationships and referrals matter a lot past a certain point. I mean, and that's also matters in mobile home and real estate and any form of business. Relationship and referrals matter, but past a certain point, you develop enough relationships with attorneys and even judges and stuff like that, you don't even have to advertise anymore. So it's about relationships and being confident in how your business operates. That's another thing as well. Being confident in how your business operates. Yeah, you own a paternity testing service. Don't be ashamed of it. Market yourself. Put yourself out there. Put yourself on LinkedIn. Meet people. Go to networking events. That's standard business practice. This is another big thing too. Empathy and compassion. When you speak to your clients, they're not buckets of money. Okay, treat them like people because they are going through some of the worst situations in their life. If you, as a man or as a woman, it depends. As a man, you found out that your significant other cheated on you and your 7-year-old child might not be yours. That is gut wrenching. And I've had clients that got those answers, and it's bad. Dude, compassion. Yeah. Compassion. This is a compassion and empathy based business. Never forget that. Never forget that. Because at the core, that's what that is. I mean, some clients, ask for, and we are actually working on starting to refer them to mental health services, private therapists that we can refer them to, because that is a serious thing to learn. So compassion, confidence in your business, and then establishing relationships with people that can help you build your business. That's some of the biggest things that I've learned.
Yeah, man, I like that, man. So, appreciate the entire wrap up. Starting to wrap this, wrap this conversation up, right? For someone who's trying to start off and build a paternity test outside of Paternity University, what is one piece of advice that you kind of give them to like kind of jumpstart it off?
Understand that it is not overnight. If you come in with the understanding that it is not overnight, you've won half the battle. It's going to take time. Have patience. But you're in such a niche industry that you will win as long as you offer good service and communication to your clients. But understand that this is a long game. Start off with that and that mindset. This is not crypto gains where you get 4,200% return overnight. No, this is a long game. This takes time. So stay dedicated to start with that mindset first, and you've already won half the battle.
Love that, man. Like anything worth building in general, anything that's that's of value, essentially, that
Yeah.
you can build it. It takes time building it, man. I think
Yeah.
that's key in all entrepreneurial journeys, period. Right? Just understand that's not going to take time. That's perfect information, man.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
you've outlaid, you are officially the paternity university paternity guru right now. Like everybody's listening, like, man, this is something I want to do, man.
Yeah.
World just mind blown right now. How do we get in contact with you? How do our listeners
Yeah, for sure. I am very, very active on Twitter. That's like where I'm at the most. So at Royal Skegee, RoyalSkegee, for the illustrious Tuskegee University. Active on Instagram as well, Royal Skegee. You can check out Paternity University's Instagram. If you want to email me directly and get in contact with me, royal@paternityuniversity.com. If you or somebody needs a paternity test, you can contact me in confidence, cs@assurancedna.com, or you can visit assurancedna.com. Yeah, no matter what state you're in, I can assist you. If you or someone is in need of that service, but I'm everywhere. Look me up, Royal Banks. I'm on LinkedIn as well. Check me out. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Love it, man. I love it. Hey, as always, man, Royal, it's great to talk to you. Love every time we get together and have a conversation, man. It's awesome.
Yeah,
so I appreciate you coming on and sharing that information with us.
Thank you for having me on for the second time, Dan. That's wow. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. It's great stuff. Hey, if you like what you're hearing here, man, do us a favor. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment below if you have any questions regarding Paternity University or Assurance DNA, or just how you do this, how you get this business going in general, right? Make sure you reach out to Royal. And again, if you leave a comment below, I'm sure Royal will be on the YouTubes, answering those there. So that's good stuff. If you're listening to this on podcast, leave us a 5-star review, man. We really appreciate those. Also, if you have any comments you want to leave there, any suggestions we can do to improve the show that makes it better for you, let us know. We'll do that. And other than that, this is Dan Wynn signing off.
Peace.